So, hi, Dr. Crittenden. Welcome back to Mexico.
Thank you very much.
How are you?
It's good to be here.
That's great. So we're going to talk a little bit about the family functioning scale.
Yeah.
Can you discuss it briefly for us?
Well, it was an attempt on my part to help people who were working with families to decide what sort of services the family needed, for how long they might need those services, to rule out inappropriate services and focus on what would serve the family best.
Okay. So do you think the family functioning scale is a good intervention process in order for us to work with troubled families?
I think it can help you to identify the kinds of resources that will help a family, to make a plan of an appropriate length of time. I'm particularly concerned with not asking too much of a family too soon. And if you realize this could take 3, 4, 5 years, then you don't push everything on a family at once. You have a space of time. And that means you have a greater chance of success than trying to do everything at once, which is almost a guarantee of failure. I used to work on multidisciplinary committees, and there would be the nurse and the educator and the psychiatrist and the psychologist and the social worker, and all of us, 8 to 10 people, are in a room deciding what to do with a family. And we list all these things that the family can't do or that the children need. And everybody says, well, my service will do this and my service will do that. And now a plan is created that nobody could complete. Everybody would fail if they had to do all those things at one time. There are no priorities among them. They all need to happen now. I've looked at those plans and thought, if I had to do those things with my child, I'd never get my child. You'd take it away. Right. We ask more of parents than we ask of adequate parents. So the LFF, Level of Family Functioning Scale, is meant to slow us down and cause us to think, what's really the thing that this family needs? And I told you earlier, the supportable level is the one that I think we overlook. And we have a huge potential there that we do not address.
Right. So we conduct the family functioning scale every 6 months for the families. Mm-hmm. How or what recommendations do you have for us to be objective when scoring the functioning scale?
The scale itself is just 5 categories. They're intuitively obvious. Independent inadequate is the first level. It never comes to your attention. Mm-hmm. Maybe families get there when they leave you, when they graduate, but they don't come to you at that level. Vulnerable to crisis. You're looking at a family that was independent inadequate, but you can identify some crisis event that has made the family unable to meet its own needs. The birth of a handicapped child, the serious mental illness of a parent, the death of a parent, a crisis that couldn't be predicted, and an otherwise adequate family suddenly doesn't know how to handle this. And now professionals are needed, maybe to help the family immediately with something, or maybe just to help them to learn to negotiate the system. For example, if they have a handicapped child, they're going to be in the system for as long as that child is with them. And they need some skills to know who to contact and how to handle themselves with professionals. We're a very special group of people. We talk in funny words. We expect obedience from people. We think people are going to nod and do what we say, and they don't. And then we think there's something wrong with them. When I have had groups of troubled women, I teach them how to talk to a professional, how to prepare for the meeting. Write down a list of the things you want from the professional, rather than waiting passively to see what they want from you. Learn to look at somebody in the eye so that they will pay attention to you. Otherwise, they'll just send word your way. And so I train low-income, poorly educated, upset people to know how to talk to professionals and get from the professionals who have access to resources, how to get the resources they need. So with a vulnerable to crisis family, if you're going to be in the mental health system, if you're going to be in the disability system, you need to know what's available and who are the people to talk to and how to get the services you want. 6 months later, you may be very good at that and not need management anymore.
Right.
So that would be one level. Restorable was another. 1 to 5 years of services. If you know that in advance, we're going to be there for 2 years or 3 years. Now you can line up your services from the simplest, at which the family will be successful, to the more complex that depend upon those early learnings. And you don't push it all at once.
Right.
You know, my first training was as a teacher. And teachers know that if a child cannot subtract and multiply and divide, and in his class he should be doing percents, you don't start with division. You start with the thing that he is sure of, addition, and you move next to subtraction, even though it's percents that is what you're headed for.
Right.
I think we in social services, we list all the needs, and we don't think of them as having a developmental order. This one has to come before that one. We think they're all urgent right now, and then families collapse under the load that we have given them.
So finally, for the last question, when did you create this tool?
I created this mid-70s. It's published in a paper, I think, with a date in the 90s. But I created it in the 70s. As I was setting up one of the first infant intervention programs at all. Infant intervention was brand new in the 70s. We had no model for what to do. And I was one of the people who was there developing it. I wanted to help people who would follow me have some guide so they didn't have to start with nothing the way I did. This was one of the pieces that I put together.
Which is great, and we want to thank you for it. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.